So we've got 30 minutes to try and explore how to build a luxury brand. And if we figure that out in 30 minutes, that's it, you can give up the day job. So, as we said, Bill started off by stating, of course, all of the challenges that our industry is facing. So, as a little bit of an intro, is that we'd love to hear from all of you, is that how is the industry changing, and what does success look like for a luxury brand?
In my opinion, and it's quite evident that the market is becoming a lot more inclusive. Historically, you had to go down Bond Street to experience luxury goods. Now, with social media, it's a lot more accessible, and brands need to navigate towards that and embrace it.
Jonathan?
For me, a few years ago, it was all about buying a brand and going in. A lot of brand loyalty. You had to have the Prada suit, and you'd buy the whole head-to-toe Prada outfit. And now there's a huge shift where the customers become far more sophisticated, and they're much more about the product. So you have to work a lot harder as a brand to drive that through.
Cyndi?
Yes, I think the key to success for a luxury brand or any brand today is having an informed strategy around environmental footprint and sourcing of raw materials. That's the next big thing, is knowing where we're going to get our raw materials from in the future.
And last but not least, Adam.
As to how the industry is changing, I wouldn't know where to start because there's so much. But I think what success looks like for me, as coming from a clothing brand, is really acting with a sense of purpose, having clear focus, and being a brand that has integrity.
Fantastic. Well, I think you get an idea of where everyone starts to stand in terms of forming their opinion. Is that Bill referenced an interview with Andrew Rosen, and as part of that interview is that he was talking about how the industry is changing, but also how the rise of the marketer versus the merchandiser within a business is changing the role. So I'd love to just throw that to Jonathan in terms of how you see that changing within your business.
Yeah, I don't particularly agree with it, to be honest, because I believe, and always have done, that it starts with creativity. And creativity is driven, first and foremost, by the incredible creative directors there are in the market today. I think to Andrew's point, the change has really been the added influence of merchandising and marketing. And one example I would give to that, where there needs to be much more of a cohesive strategy to it, is 2 years ago, I said to Donatella, we probably need to change our sneakers, because our sneakers were just normal sneakers with a big gold Medusa plonked on the top of them, which, and we could see, obviously, that the market for sneakers was evolving probably a bit further away from that. So Donatella, the incredible thing about Donatella is, her idea is, I'm not going to design it. So she, within 24 hours, asked around, shipped over a guy from LA who came from Nike. He was hired on the spot, super cool guy. And he created this incredible product with the collaboration of merchandising. And he crafted it, and it's a particularly unique product. It sits alone and stands alone, and we were very proud of it. It's called the Chain Reaction. And then how do you launch it? I think this is the key, because you just can't put a product in the store without the story. So storytelling is super important. So the sneaker, as I said, is called the Chain Reaction. He had connections. He's from LA with a really cool rapper called 2 Chainz. So ironically, it wasn't 2 Chainz that influenced it. It was the other way around. We pulled him in. He kind of helped us launch the product. We launched it 12 months ago. It's the best-selling item in our brand today. So, and it can just happen like that, but it can't happen just from marketing. It definitely starts with design.
So design, product, king. So Adam, is that obviously when you started your business, is that if you read anything about Orlebar Brown, it's sort of the tailored short, and that started with the product. How's that changed for you?
I think it's completely different. I mean, when I started Orlebar Brown with one style of short in 4 lengths, and it was one silhouette, and that's all we had. So that focus really enabled the customer to understand who we were, what we did, and what Orlebar Brown was about. Now it's completely sitting on its head. There's a healthy tension between me and our merchandising team, We have very frequent, very frank conversations and very lively conversations about what we should and we shouldn't be putting into the range. But I'm slightly sort of sitting. I would always on the marketing side. I think there's a story to tell. I think how you bring that story alive to the customer is absolutely paramount. And I think you've got to keep, now in this day and age, we have to keep feeding that the whole time with different, new, fresh stories. But then to counteract that, every Monday we look at, we're always looking at our best sellers. Our best sellers is a navy blue pair of shorts. Our business is built on denim pigment T-shirts, navy blue T-shirts, and a particular Slim Aaron's print, which we've been doing for years. And those are our best sellers, and that's what generates us a large amount of our sales.
But I think is that the point that Andrew Rosen was getting to was really around the customer experience, and so responding to that with the storytelling.
Absolutely. So as an acquisition, as a way of acquiring customers, to put the brand in front of new customers on a regular basis, telling a different story. Absolutely. Once you've recruited them, then you have a retention. How do you retain them? What are those core items they'll keep on buying? That'll be a different thing.
Absolutely.
And Mike, as a business that's expanding quite rapidly in terms of retail, when a lot of other businesses are maybe contracting, is that customer experience and storytelling must be top of the agenda for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're a partner for brands, so we work with Jonathan's company and launching his products within our stores. And the customer journey undoubtedly starts online. But when you're in a regional town or city, and there's not many places to go and experience luxury products or a luxury shopping experience, we believe we've got a real niche in the market where people will travel considerable amounts of time and collect the products in store and have that one-on-one experience with the store staff.
And I think is that when you're thinking about the customer, you have to be so sensitive in terms of the experience you're providing. I think everyone this morning was talking about how quickly that can explode in terms of social. Is that how important is it? I'm going to come to all of you, I think, in terms of making sure that reputation for a brand as you're building it and thinking about we've all seen these challenges around social media campaigns that have gone wrong, perhaps insensitive campaigns, maybe individuals within a business that have been caught out for saying the wrong thing on social media. I think is that there's been an example of that with the BBC this morning, is, how do you approach that and how do you become a brand guardian of those social channels to try and mitigate risk?
It's difficult. It's difficult, and we've seen that with some of the luxury brands over in China. And the customer now is not brand loyal anymore. They're getting served newness all the time through social media, and the moment you slip up, the moment they move on. So reputation is key, especially in this industry. People are buying an experience, they're buying a product, they're saving up for it, they want to enjoy it, and a reputation is super important.
And Jonathan, is that obviously, as the fashion industry, is that there have been a lot of conversations around sort of the Me Too campaign, is that I can ask you because it's not been levelled at Versace, but from your perception, is that how do you see as an industry or as even a luxury brand, how do you navigate some of those challenges?
Obviously, it was a wake-up call for the industry, and I think something that's very, very positive, and I think it will really help improve cultures within brands and the industry in general. But I have to say the reverse to that is we should also, I've been in the fashion industry for 25 years, and we should really celebrate how inclusive and how diverse our industry is, and I think we should be really, really proud of it. I mean, I've worked for Lee McQueen, I've worked for Sarah Burton, a very, very strong woman who's very, very quiet, but trust me, she's very, very strong. And then the next one is Donatella Versace, who is even stronger. So I've always partnered with women. I've always, our company is full of people that are very, very young, very, very old, and we employ people from around the world. And I think we should be really looking at the positives and obviously trying to improve at the same time.
Absolutely. I'd echo that, is that our industry is an incredible one and great opportunity. And a shout out to Donatella for all the support she does as well, supporting young talent, that's very dear to our heart. Cyndi, from your perspective, you must take into account, of course, reputation when you're thinking about your business. But as a view on how a brand would approach it and think about reputation, what would your advice be?
Well, I think we started from a very different place. We're a few steps removed from being a luxury brand. We're a technology innovation company that's set up to solve a huge global problem around textile waste. And that's one of the issues that's becoming a lot more mainstream in the media. We're hearing a lot more about it. And I think that's what's really exciting. You know, when we started this technology out over 8 years ago, you could hear tumbleweed. There wasn't much talk about this sort of thing. And today, brands are building in circular approaches to design. They're building in, they're thinking not just about where they're going to get the raw materials, what it's made from, but also what's going to happen to it at end of life. Can it be recycled? Can it be regenerated? So I think in terms of success and the definition of success for any brand these days, it's about having that holistic approach.
I've got one last question on the customer, and I'm going to come back to you on some of that in a second, is really around when you have a business that's talking to a global customer and a diverse customer, is that how do you approach that from a communications perspective as a luxury brand?
How do we? It's very tricky. We are naturally, we're a small business, so I think we're forgiven. Certainly, we don't talk to a lot of, deliberately don't talk to a lot of countries. Our websites are not translated into certain languages. We do not ship to some countries and things like that. But I think there's a sensitivity, an innate sensitivity within Orlebar Brown that, you know, whether it is around ethnicity, whether it's around choice of models, whether it's around team, whether it's around, you know, reputation is absolutely key. It is a small bit. We are built on repeat customers. We're built on people coming back. We're built on trust, and that's something we just have embedded right from the product, which we give a 5-year guarantee on any of our product. If it fails, we'll return it. So that's the sort of the starting point on which we build everything. But you know, our particular challenges are I cannot get. We're very social media. We're very social media. We encourage user-generated content. We want to see where people have worn our swim shorts around the world. We are not getting an Asian community who are uploading pictures. They are not sharing those particular images. We don't have. I'm desperate to try and get more women into the business. Women are not applying for the jobs at Orlebar Brown. That is an issue. That is an issue for me. You know, reputation around products and stuff like that. But there's also issues for us, reputation and things. The challenges we're having around body shape. You know, we are a swim short company where we put men in swim shorts in pictures, and we get emails from wives, sisters, daughters, saying, "Why aren't you showing pictures of my husband, pictures of men like my husband?" And it's a trick. It's a very difficult.
Yeah.
Certainly, we are going on a shoot this weekend when I am bringing all body shapes, different ages, also, and we're going down and we're seeing what this all looks like. So I want to find a solution to it. Yeah.
Can't wait to see the
I'm
results.
glad nobody sees me wearing my Orlebar Brown.
Come on down.
Get it on Instagram.
No thanks.
Cyndi, back to the idea of reputation, but also sort of segueing that into innovation, is that in London and in fact throughout the world is that we've all seen sort of the impact of Extinction Rebellion. There's a lot of conversation around climate change emergency. From your perspective, is that innovation's at the heart of that? Is that right?
Absolutely. I think, you know, you wouldn't be able to cut down CO2 emissions without innovation. You wouldn't be able to replace toxic dyes without innovation. You wouldn't be able to solve textile waste without innovation. So that really is at the heart of it. And I think there's a really big shift in terms of, you can hear me, right? Okay. There's a big shift in terms of brands focusing on industry coalitions that are forming to really tackle innovation or bring innovation into existence, supporting new businesses, new technologies. Yeah, Fashion for Good in Amsterdam. Okay. Oh, easier said than done. No. I can carry on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Talk that
Okay.
side.
Yeah, okay.
You're back on.
Yeah, and there's a lot happening in that space, but I think luxury is absolutely the right place to be talking about it. While luxury represents quite a small proportion of the volume of textile waste in the world, it's got a huge voice. It has a responsibility, and the world looks to luxury for style, for design, for innovation. So, you know, I'm excited to see we started working with Kering back in 2013, and H&M, two very different brands, but both focused on moving to circular business models. And, you know, having that type of diversity in partnerships, I think says a lot because it shows there really is a desire for change to happen.
I think every luxury business is, of course, thinking about sustainability, and is probably started from a point is that has less challenges than fast fashion. But it'd be good, Jonathan, maybe to think or to hear about your views on how you're approaching it or how businesses could approach it as advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, actually, it's very interesting to hear what you say because talking of innovation, you know, and I know this model is used probably at more of a fast fashion basis, but we're just about to introduce a new system for virtual prototyping, and it sounds a bit boring, and it's, you know, related to obviously the supply chain, but you would not believe the amount of cost and wastage that goes into the prototyping and the final development of the product that goes into the showroom. So by doing it virtually, you know, you're not only saving a lot of time and making your business more efficient, but you're also saving a lot of, you know, a lot of wastage. And it's the same with printing as well. And we're doing things a lot more on digital printing rather than doing it from the fabrics that, again, end up just getting wasted and thrown away. So it's, you know, I'm really, I think we're going to be one of the first luxury brands to introduce this, and we're kicking it off this year. So it's, I think for us, it's obviously all about the supply chain where you can really make the difference.
Thinking about it from I guess sort of taking innovation forward is that innovation is used in every sense in every business, it seems, at the moment. But we'd love to think about how maybe innovation translates into different areas of the business. And would love to hear how you guys are thinking about innovation in terms of the stores, in terms of consumer engagement, and perhaps what that means at Flannels.
So I'm not sure how many people are aware of what we're doing with Flannels, but we've got 40 stores around the UK, and our ambition is to get to 100 stores. Mm-hmm. So the innovation and what we believe we can provide the customer versus what other luxury retailers can provide is the sheer quantum and touch points a customer can come touch and feel the product. So for us, it's about where the customer journey starts online, is inspired through social media, researches that on the Flannels website, and then may want to send the product to their nearest store, which is maybe half an hour, 45 minutes away. The store staff will let them know that the product's in stock, and they can book a changing room out. They can then book a stylist to maybe pull together some other luxury outfits to go with the product which they've purchased. They can do their returns through store, and it's a seamless transaction. And I think what we're doing has not been done before, at least to my knowledge, in anywhere in the world. It's very much an industry which has been dominated by department stores or boutique stores owned by independents. And what we're trying to achieve is a national chain of luxury boutiques, if you like. And the stores aren't small. They're 10,000 square foot minimum. So this room's probably 5,000 square feet. So it's double the size of this room, and that's a minimum size store because we believe that in order to have that attractiveness to the consumer, you need to have a wide range of brands. You need to have obviously all the sizes and the deepness within the product offering. So we're innovating a different way. We work very closely with brands on SMU products, on sustainable programs. We work with them on the logistics supply chain, on how to make their deliveries more efficient so there's no wastage with cardboard boxes. And so we're very integrated as a platform, connected into a brand's touch points, if you like, their marketing, their e-commerce, their supply chain, their deliveries and logistics. So
great to hear, and I think is that from the customer perspective, that must increase sales, new opportunities to introduce new brands. So that whole experience is a great way to think about innovation. From your perspective, is that I'd love to, Adam, to talk about what growth looks like for a luxury brand. Is that both you and Jonathan have been through some quite interesting investment rounds. Fantastic, congratulations to you both. But would love to hear your perspective on how, if you were starting a luxury brand today, how you perhaps would approach investment, and share some of your stories.
Okay, I'm very different from Jonathan. So, we started 10 years ago. I started it 10 years ago. I started from my spare room. It started with £40,000. It started with that very sort of hustle-like mentality, doing everything yourself, not recruiting staff, all that sort of thing. So 3 years in, I got angel investors, if I was advising anyone, I would not go with the person who can give you the highest valuation. I would go with the person who can give you the most use and who's going to bring what you need to the business at that point. So I got angel investment. They got an incredible deal. They got a big percentage of the company for very little money, but they brought fundamental difference and benefit to the business. They absolutely benefited the business with online technology, making me understand the customer journey, the point of just financial management, all that sort of thing, which I was useless at. Then I went on a couple of years, and then we went to private equity, and again, it's about relationships. I walked away from. We had a lot of interest in Orlebar Brown about 5 years ago when I did the private equity round. We had various offers on the table. I instinctively went for the third highest offer because I thought that the people were going to be okay. I sat in meetings during due diligence, and I just thought, I can't work. If things go wrong, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. So I walked away, and it was the most painful thing I've probably ever done, but categorically the best thing I've ever done. So if I was advising anyone, I think there are layers to this. I had angel investment, absolutely getting clever people, not the highest valuation. Private equity, again, getting the right private equity group for your business at that stage. I went with a UK-based, smaller private equity. The people were honest, genuine. They were the right people for us. And then I started building the relationships. So we were bought by Chanel at the end of last year. And I started developing that relationship 5 years ago. So they asked to see me. I had a meeting. I got to know them over a course of 5 years. And that was a key factor, knowing the people who you're going to be working with. At the same time, we were put it out there, people knew we were doing it, and we were approached by, again, a lot more people. And instinctively, these things are relationships. My gut, money's relatively easy. If the idea is good and you're a sensible person, it's relatively easy to raise money. It's not easy to raise money for clever money, and I think I would always go for clever money over the highest valuation. And always think of this as a relationship. You are working with these people. It's when things go wrong, not when things go right, that's what you need to consider, I think.
And so obviously your investment came from Chanel, for those that haven't read, that as a partner they have synergies with the female swimwear brand that they have. Yeah. But what else did they bring? What was the decision?
So for me, it was about I wanted the Orlebar Brown. We make swim shorts, t-shirts, polos, sweatshirts. We sell it in a particular way. We act with a sense of purpose. It's not just a product. We're selling the whole holiday type of thing. But for me, Chanel is about values, and I think having a shared values, of quality, integrity, not having to go so fast that you trip over and fail. I founded Orlebar Brown. All I want is for Orlebar Brown to be around in 20 years' time. I don't care whether it goes so fast. I did not want it to trip up and fail. And those are important things. I think international, I spent 2 weeks going around their factories and enabling Orlebar Brown to do accessories. We don't do bags. We don't do sunglasses. Why could we not do sun care now? All those sort of other product extensions that we don't have expertise in the business, they are naturally very good partners for that. Retail, negotiating on retail stores, legal expertise, all those things. It was just a natural decision
So it sounds like a fashion group is a good option. Jonathan, from your experiences, that obviously you've just done a deal, but you've also worked within, as you said, Alexander McQueen, within sort of the bigger luxury groups, and you've also mentored some of our younger designers. So it'd be good, maybe, as we are starting to get short of time very quickly, is that how you would approach investment today if you were going to go after it as a smaller independent luxury business.
I mean, McQueen was very, very small when I joined, and I think the message is, and it was the same for Versace, where it was more, the project with Versace was more about elevation. And my recommendation is, if you've got a great brand, I mean, like Adam's a perfect example, you've got to get a great brand and just focus on that. Don't get distracted by all these people that are coming to you, and just, last year was could have been extremely distracting for me, but it's just focus on the brand, keep the brand going, and make sure you pick the right partners.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask very quickly before we go to the last question. Cyndi, you must have a very different perspective in terms of scaling a luxury brand. What advice would you give to a business?
I think starting out, times have changed dramatically, and consumers expect very different things from brands. They expect brands to do things right from the very beginning. So my recommendation would be to think about design of products that can be recirculated, recycled again and again. I think that's at the forefront of it.
Okay, last question, a bit like we started. So quick fire answers. Mike, I'm going to start with you. So words of advice, if you were starting a business today, so I'm sure that there's some entrepreneurs in the audience, what are the golden nuggets of advice that you would give?
I would say the most important thing is understanding your consumer and staying honest and loyal to that, and going with that decision and obsessing over what that consumer wants, and not trying to get distracted into trying to spread yourself too far.
Great advice.
My one's a funny one. In 2008, at the height of the crisis, Lee McQueen had this crazy idea for a show, and we couldn't afford it. It was far off. And he was saying to me, Jonathan, you've got to speculate to accumulate. So I said, okay, do the show. And it was the best show he ever did. So take the risk.
Love it. Cyndi.
Find a challenge that you're passionate about. Find a solution. Bring the right partners in. And don't stop until you've made it happen.
I think it's around purpose. I mean, the last thing anyone needs is another rail of clothes or a rail of bags or whatever, or sunglasses, but think of the actual purpose of what your brand is about, and really instilling in your values, your customer promise, and what is the purpose of what you're starting. And I think then, if you have integrity in that, then the customer will start to understand it that much more easily.
Great advice to finish on. Thank you. Well, please join me in a round of applause for our panel.